A couple of the guys who didn't have their Week 1 game go the way that they would expect. Hey, that's what happens. For every winner, there's a loser. And for every Monday in-season PFT Live, we give out superlatives. Mike is going to be with us every Monday this season, so he's going to be part of the superlatives. Let's get right into it. Mike Golic, give me anything you want, any award, whatever title, however you want to do it, go.
How about what the hell are we doing in the NFL award? The Za'Darius Smith roughing the passer. You knew I would start on the defensive side of the ball. For the Packers, the roughing the passer on Jameis Winston that was called blew my mind. I understand the safety factor of, the hitting in the head and the defensive side of the ball and protecting, got to protect the quarterback. I get it. I understand it to a point. At times, Mike, they go too far. In the secondary, they go too far. If a hit is hard, they throw a flag, and they decide later what's going on. But no matter what, it's costing you 15 yards, on a hard hit. Roughing the quarterback has gotten ridiculous. You can't hit him low. We saw that in the Miami game on a player who was falling. I thought that was kind of a bad call. But then what Za'Darius Smith did, he did it exactly the way the league has told defensive players to do it. He didn't lead with his head. He didn't wrap up and land on the quarterback. He hit him with his shoulder and landed off to the side, and he did it within a step of the throw. You could almost make that video the how to hit the quarterback video, and the friggin' league and the friggin' official threw a flag on it. So I don't understand it. I will be interested in the review of that, of what the league says about that hit, when the Packers are going, why was that roughing the passer? Somebody explain that to me. I want to hear that explanation.
Yeah, and it seems like we have that every few years where some of these calls that end up being roughing the passer, it's just he hit him too hard legally. Like, there's nothing about that he wasn't. Remember, it was the scooping and driving into the ground a couple of years ago. That was the excuse. All he did was hit him too hard. He hit him legally. He just hit him too hard. But there's no foul for hitting a guy too hard when you're hitting him legally.
Mike, it blew my mind. I mean, I get protecting the quarterback, but there has to be something to where the defense is allowed to hit the quarterback to at least make the quarterback think, you know what? If I stand in the pocket and throw the ball, there's a chance I may get rung up. And he got rung up there in a perfectly legal hit, in my opinion. And if you're taking that away, there's a certain amount of fear is the wrong word. But quarterbacks have to know, receivers have to know, hey, it's a game where you're going to get hit. And if you can't even get hit like that, again, I need to hear the league explain why that was. And the only thing I can think of is if the referee thought it was a little late, which no way, shape, or form did I think that was late. He took one step as he threw the ball. It seemed like a perfectly good hit.
I think he just got hit so hard that we're not used to seeing those kind of hard hits anymore. When we see them, they're always penalties. So, but you make a good point. Tom Brady complained recently that with these fouls that get called on defensive players, whether it's hitting the defenseless receiver, whether it's hitting the quarterback illegally, so much of that flows from the offensive player taking advantage of the rule, the offensive player failing to protect himself, at times deliberately, the quarterback throwing the hospital ball, knowing that if the receiver gets blown up, you're going to get 15 yards. Or the quarterback not doing the Tom Brady chuck and duck that we see from time to time to avoid contact, holding it a little bit longer. You take the hit, you get a foul. Well, it's on you for holding it too long. That's Brady's argument. So, hey, Winston paid the price. He took the hit, but he got the 15 yards. He shouldn't have gotten the 15 yards. And Michael, another point on this. If they had a booth umpire, they would have had the opportunity to pick that flag up. I'm a big proponent of having an extra member of the crew in the booth, seeing what we see, buzzing down, saying, pick up the flag, drop the flag, whatever it may be. It's not replay review. It's another official who isn't down there among the gladiators trying to see what's going on, sees what we see, bridges that gap between what they see and what we see. Another example of how you could have picked up that flag when you realized he just hit him too hard, didn't hit him illegally.
Listen, I couldn't agree more. I do think they should have that extra guy in the booth. And what you talk about in the secondary, I've talked for this years on radio and TV. It's the receiver because they're changing their level. You know, where they catch the ball, and then after they catch it, how their level changed. The defender could have been starting to attack, you know, between the shoulder pads and the waist. But after the receiver catches the ball and their level changes, now all of a sudden it catches them a little bit of that in the head. And the league says it's on the defender. It is a responsibility of the defender on where they hit. And when it's a bang-bang play, it can be a lot tougher to do. Because I agree. I don't want a guy missling, and I don't want a guy putting his head down. I don't care where we are in football now or where it was 100 years ago. The one thing that was always constant was see what you hit. So I am a firm believer in not putting it down and hitting with the crown of your head. I completely understand that. So if you see that and a guy launches, I agree with the penalty. But it gets me sometimes when the defender is trying to do it the right way, but the receiver changes levels after the catch. They end up getting popped in the head a little bit, and it costs them 15 yards.
One guy who did not get flagged for roughing the passer on any of his 5 sacks, Chandler Jones, the Pay the Man Please award. Mike, this is the one guy who was doing the hold-in thing kind of sort of this year. We saw that throughout the NFL because the fines are now $50,000 per day in training camp. If you're not on your rookie contract, it can't be waived. It has to be paid. So there were guys like T.J. Watt and Dwayne Brown and Xavier Howard and Jamal Adams who showed up and didn't do anything until they got their money. Well, everybody got their money except Chandler Jones. And I respect the fact, because I said all along, what's the end point here if you don't sign the guy to a new contract? At some point, the team's got to say, time to play. And Chandler Jones, to his credit, answered the bell and proved why he's worth the contract that, for whatever reason, the Cardinals don't want to give him. They may feel differently about it now, and you may start to hear more of the teammates speak out the way that T.J. Watt's teammates were speaking out before he got his.
So you wonder, Mike, did maybe the Khalil Mack contract a few years ago, is that a reason why teams aren't doing it? Khalil Mack gets a ton of money after going to the Chicago Bears from the Raiders, and they haven't done a whole lot. Now, the defense has played great at times, but as a team, they haven't done a whole lot. So is the thought process, well, we're going to pay this defensive player a ton of money, but if it's still not going to take us anywhere, should we do it? And my answer is, well, you can't keep getting rid of great players. I mean, you bring a guy on your team to do exactly what Chandler Jones is doing. And if he's doing exactly what you want him to do, then you got to pay market price to keep him. And that's how I think you become a good team, is to have guys like that. And what you have to do, that's just on management to be smarter with the cap, both now and in the future. You got to look 3-5 years down the line on where your cap number is going to be, so you can say, yeah, this guy deserves to be one of the high-paid players in the league, and we're going to do that because we've done the money right. We know Kyler Murray is going to come up at some point, but this is the time where you can do something like that before you have to pay your quarterback big money like Mahomes did. And even when they paid Mahomes, they still had a 2-year buffer before that was going to kick in. You could possibly do that with Kyler Murray as well. So you got to be able to spread that out over a few years with the salary cap and pay the guy what he's worth. That's how you stay a good team.
The cap definitely an issue this year. The pandemic driving it down a net of $25 million per team. But look, when you have great players, you have to find a way to get them paid. I've said time and again, even though Chandler Jones wasn't drafted and developed by the Cardinals, he's been there so long it feels like he was. He was originally with the Patriots. It sends such a powerful message to the rest of the locker room when the players who have come in, checked every box, done everything that's been asked of them, developed, performed, excelled, thrived, when they get theirs, instead of they have to go somewhere else to get it, and we're throwing out all this crazy money to guys who have never done anything for this team. I think it's so important when you have, and most of your players are going to be young guys that you're hoping you can coax something out of them. Here's a shining example of what happens if you do everything you're supposed to do. Another reason why they should take care of Chandler Jones.
I completely agree, and hopefully he'll get paid, and hopefully with that team, and they all gel together and become the team everybody thinks they can out in the desert. All right, I'm going to give out another one. It's the Oh Bleep Award. And that's to Penei Sewell, who was a left tackle for Oregon and then is a top pick in Detroit and is practicing at right tackle, has to start the season at left tackle against Nick Bosa, who is coming back from injury, but we know how Nick Bosa entered the league and how great he was. So, you wonder if deep inside in a private moment, Sewell's going, oh, bleep, this is who I'm starting off with back over at left tackle. Again, a position he's comfortable with because he played it at Oregon. He actually played pretty well. I mean, Bosa's first tackle, I don't think, came till close to halftime. Now, Bosa did get a sack in the second half, but I thought Penei played pretty well in this opener. I loved him in college. Great feet, great hands, gets to the second level really well. But when all of a sudden you got to go against one of the best defensive linemen in the league in your very first game, that can be an uh-oh moment. I thought he handled it pretty well.
Yeah, and Nick Bosa praised Penei Sewell after the game. One of the realities, he opted out for COVID last year, so it is going to take a little time to get to where he would have been if he had had that full season of football. But exactly what the Lions need as they try to turn it around. And I've got a little mini one to give out from that same game. The worst possible beat award. Scott Van Pelt does the bad beats. This is as bad as it gets. When the 49ers are 9-point favorites and they're up 38-10, you're lighting cigars with $100 bills at that point if you took the Niners. And the next thing you know, and it's that sinking feeling. Oh, they scored a touchdown. Well, there's plenty more where that came from. And the next thing you know, and this is why, apart from the fact that NBC policy prevents us from doing it, I don't bet, because you can't. How do you ever know how it's going to go? The spread was 9, and the 49ers ultimately win by 8, and the Lions cover. I know there's not much they can take from that, but whoever had the Lions plus 9 took plenty from it, Mike.
Yeah, I don't have anything to say about that, because I made a phone call before that game and it didn't work out well.
All right, next one for me. We already did pay the man. I'm going to go paid the man, because this is an example of taking care of a guy that you need to take care of, and you do it before he exposes himself to risk in the final year of his rookie contract. That's Marshawn Lattimore. We found out about the Saints signing him to a massive deal after the win yesterday. The deal was done yesterday before the game started. And, hey, he suffered a thumb injury. He had surgery. He's week to week. He could miss some time. His contract year may not have been as good as it needed to be. So this is what you do. You take care of your great players. You pay them market value. You don't force them to go somewhere else to get paid. And you send that message to everyone in the organization. If you do what's expected of you, you will be taken care of here, not somewhere else. So good for the Saints to take care of Lattimore.
Yeah, I agree with that. And to take care of players is a key point, because too many times we see a player get taken care of and then they get hurt. And everybody says, oh, see, that's why you shouldn't have paid them, because they can get hurt. Well, hell, it's the most physical game there is, or one of them that there is out there, and injuries are going to happen. Whether you sign the day before, whether you sign 2 years before and have 2 years left on your deal, it can still have an effect on you. So I completely agree with you. You take care of your players when you can, fit it into the cap, just like we talked about before, and you move on. Injuries happen. They're going to happen. All right, my next award is the What Did I Get Myself Into award. And that is going to be Urban Meyer and Trevor Lawrence.
Wait, is that what you're asking yourself this morning?
Oh, my God. They have to be. They have to be, right?
No, I'm asking you. I'm asking you. If that's what you're asking yourself, what did I get myself into?
Well, I fired my agent over this, so, he said I have to do this, and I said I don't. So, no. Obviously, kidding there. Love my agent. Love you, Lou. But, yeah, what did I get myself into? I mean, Urban Meyer, some of the things he's done along the way with the hiring of the strength coach that was let go in Iowa, at college there, with what's going on with him, signing of Tim Tebow and how that ended, though he actually cut him exactly when he should have cut him. But the signing, I know, raised some eyebrows. And everybody talking about how he looked in the last preseason game, how down or disgusted he looked, and it was a preseason game. And just, he's a guy who's not used to losing, and Trevor Lawrence is a quarterback that's not used to losing. And this is what happens when you go to a bad team as a top pick and a bad team as a coach. All of a sudden, you get used to losing. We'll see what happens. It's a team that continues to try and build, and they will. 3 touchdowns by Lawrence, over 300 yards, but 3 interceptions. So you get the turnovers. You get knocked around by a Houston team. So you have to wonder if there's a moment when Urban Meyer's on the sideline just going, wow, it was a lot easier in college, and he was kind of the man in college, or one of the guys in college. When you talked about the upper echelon coaches in college, Urban Meyer's name was there. Now in the NFL, he's just another first-year head coach. Doesn't matter a damn thing about what he did in college, and he'll be treated as such in the NFL until you prove yourself. And the only way you prove yourself in pro sports is by winning. And it's going to come too far and few between for Urban Meyer in Jacksonville at this point.
And, Mike, it's great that you mentioned that, because Sims and I, in the aftermath of the Monday night game, Jaguars-Saints 3 weeks ago, we had some sideline imagery of Urban Meyer, and we said he's kind of got that what the hell did I get myself into look in the preseason. So, it was Houston. It was not that team up north. It was that team down south that should be a college team that they were playing yesterday. That's one of the easiest spots on the calendar for the Jaguars. So if you get overmatched and outclassed by a Texans team that was as dysfunctional as any team in the NFL has been in years, that does not bode well. And it's now 16 straight losses for the Jaguars, who began last year 1-0 somehow, lost 15 in a row. We'll see where the bottom is for the Jacksonville Jaguars. One more for me real quick. This is the third time a charm award for the Los Angeles Chargers. 14 of 19 on third down yesterday. That is uncanny, and it speaks to the calm, the demeanor, and the abilities of Justin Herbert. A coach told me last night this kid is the best young quarterback of all of them. There's a lot of great young quarterbacks in the NFL. Herbert, and I don't know, it feels like the Chargers are getting slept on because the Chargers have just kind of been this kind of blah. Yeah, they had the 12-4 season a couple of years ago, but they underachieved in the playoffs. They're just kind of there. They're the second team in L.A., that vibe. I think the Chargers are going to be pretty good. That was a tough spot to go across the country and play Washington, a playoff team from last year, and pull that game off. Yes, it helped that Ryan Fitzpatrick got hurt, but it also helped that offense against a very good defense was able to convert 14 out of 19 third downs, Mike.
I completely agree, because what was the strength? Everybody talked about Washington, who a lot of people were picking them to win the division. I know Fitzpatrick got hurt, but everybody talked about the defense, they were kind of building their D-line a la San Francisco when they went to the Super Bowl, or were playing well with a lot of defensive line rotation, a deep D-line in Washington, a very tough defense to play against. And the Chargers put up, 420-some yards in this game on the road. I love what Herbert is doing. I think he's got good weapons as well. I do. Listen, when you play in a division with the Kansas City Chiefs, you get forgotten about. You just do, because it's Kansas City and then everybody else. Who is going to compete? Can you even get 2 teams out of the division to make the playoffs? So I think that's why they get lost in the conversation, because everybody is talking about Kansas City. But Herbert getting his chance last year because of a team doctor and a shot for Tyrod Taylor to try and numb him up. But he took advantage of it, and now they have really something to build on, even though they were trying to rebuild their O-line a little bit as well. I do like this team, but they're still playing at least second or third fiddle in that division, certainly further down than that in the AFC.
Good old Dr. Needle, as Sims likes to call him, opening the door for Justin Herbert. And I asked Keenan Allen after the game yesterday, when did you know, when was that moment that you knew this kid's for real? And he said, expletive deleted, the first drive against the Chiefs last year in week 2. That's when I knew. That's how good Justin Herbert has been and how good he will continue to be.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.